Okay, so let's look at example 2. This is a region lying between two intersecting graphs. So it says find the area of the region bounded by the graphs of 2 minus x squared and x. So we need a picture in order to understand what we're doing here. Okay, so again, I'm going to have 2 minus x squared as one of my graphs, and I'm going to have x as my second. So I need to graph 2 minus x squared. Well, that's going to be something like, so we'll have this at 2. So 2 minus x squared is going to look like something like this. Y equals x is going to be a graph like this, just a line. So this is y equals x, and this is y equals 2 minus x squared. Well, the region that we're looking for is the region bounded by these two graphs. So we're looking at this area here. Now, what we need to know what these intersecting points are. So our first step is going to be to figure out what those are. So what is this point and this point? We can't do anything until we do that. So in order to figure this out, we're going to say, okay, well, their y values are shared at these places and their x values too. So we can go ahead and put these together. So I have y equals x. So I'm going to have x equals 2 minus x squared. Oops. And this is to find these 2 points. So I need to go ahead and solve this. Well, if I rearrange this a little bit, you should find that x squared plus x minus 2 would equal 0. And as long as you're doing something legal, anything will work here. I can factor this and see that x minus 1 times x plus 2 would equal 0 here. And so then I would find that x could be 1 or negative 2. So based off this, I have the point 1, and this is negative 2. So this is going to be our bounds for integration. Now our top function, even though it is pointed down, our top function is going to be 2 minus x squared, and our bottom function is going to be x. So that's how we are going to set up our integral. So now we have everything that we need. So I'm going to flip to the next slide. And so based off of this information, my area equals the integral from negative 2 to 1, because we found those points, of our first function, which is 2 minus x squared, minus our second function, which is x. And of course, we do this with respect to x. So now once we've set it up, now it's just like a normal definite integral. So we just have to go forward and solve this. So we want to simplify first. Say, okay, so our integral from negative 2 to 1. If we put all this together, this is going to be 2 minus x squared minus x. You could reorder that any way you want, but it's not necessary. So when we perform our integration, 2 is going to become 2x. Negative x squared will be negative 1/3 x cubed. And negative x will become negative 1/2 x squared. And that will be from 1 to negative 2. So now we need to go forward and plug these numbers in and evaluate what this number is. So first we'll plug in 1. So we're going to get 2 times 1 minus 1/3 times 1 cubed minus 1/2 times 1 squared. We're going to subtract away, plugging in negative 2. So we're going to get 2 times negative 2 minus 1/3 times negative 2 cubed minus 1/2 times negative 2 squared. Okay, so now we have to go forward and actually plug these in. So our first curve is going to be 2 minus 1/3 minus 1/2 Our second is going to be, so 2 times negative 2 makes negative 4. Negative 2 cubed is negative 8. Negative 8 times negative a third, it's going to make positive 8 thirds. Then we have negative 1/2 times negative 2 squared. So negative 2 squared is 4. 4 times negative a half makes negative 2. And now we want to break our brackets apart. So this first part, we get 2 minus a third minus a half. The negative here applies to each of these terms. So we're going to distribute that. So this becomes a positive 4, a negative 8 thirds, and a positive 2. So I like to do that because now we see, because we've got our thirds together, we can kind of put all the stuff together that we want. So we've got a 2, a 4, and a 2. Well, that makes 8. We have negative a third. We've got negative 8 thirds. This makes negative 9 thirds, which is going to be 3, but just do that in this case. And then we have minus a half. Well, we just said that this is the same thing as 3. So 8 minus 3 makes 5. So we get 5 minus a half. Again, to do 5 minus a half, we do 5 times 2, which is 10, minus 1 times 1, which is 1, over 2, which makes 9 halves.